Namaste and welcome once again to this course on intermediate level of spoken Sanskrit. Up to now we have looked at the different word forms, the pronouns in the different cases as well as in the singular, dual and plural. In the previous class we had looked at the first person pronoun in the dual case. In this lecture, the lecture number 11, we are going to be doing an introduction of the second person pronoun in the dual form, and this is the part 1 for that. The session will focus on an introduction to the yushmat, which is the second person pronoun in the dvivachanam or the dual case, in the dual forms, and then we'll do a revision of the dhatu rupas and practice of the causative that we've been looking at. And finally, a building of the vocabulary, and wherever required, I will also be presenting the sandhi forms to you. So let's do a punasmaranam. Punasmaranam kurma. And sambhashanam, we have been looking at a particular dialogue that we have already looked at in a few classes now. So we'll take on that dialogue again, and this time the dialogue is going to be between me and you. So aham prashnam prakshyami yuyam uttaram dasyatha. So I will ask the question and I look forward to you giving the answers, because it's going to be based around the first person in the dual forms. So here we go. Harihi Om Piyusha, but here Piyusha representative of any of you. Pariksha katham abhavat, and Esha ka, who is this? So you can replace it with anybody you want, but the answer would be Namaste Arye, Pariksha Samyak Abhavat. Esha Mama Sahapathini, and you can replace it with a lady who you're studying Sanskrit along with or you'd like to work with. So dash asti. Next, Yuvam Parikshayaha Param Kutra Gamishya Thaha. And the answer would be, got that? Avam. So let me write that. Avam. Avam. Parikshayaha param sapta divasiya Sanskrita shibiram kartum Sanskrita bharatim gamishyamaha or vaha. That's it, you're right. So it is Vaha, Uttamam. And which case is this one? Avam is the first case for the first person plural. Uttamam. Moving on. Samskrita Shibiram Kutra Bhavishyati. Tat Bengaluru Nagare Bhavishyati. Tad Vishaye Yuvam or Vaha Kaha Uktavan. And you want to say our teacher, the two of us. So it will be Avayoho. Avayoho. Or in brackets, now. So Avayoho or now. And in this it will be Avayoho or now. Now. Shikshakaha told us. So told us here is in the accusative. So what do we know? That the first and the second cases are the same. So it will be Avam, Uttamam. Avam. Now there is just, in terms of the writing of it, there is a question. You can either put the dot on top or you can put the m with the halant to indicate the half sound. Now how do we know which one would work? So you have to look at the following letter. So here, because the following letter is an oo or a vowel, the nasal sound will necessarily have to be the m with the halant. Okay, that's one of the specificities of the writing, and therefore this will not be the case. So avam, and let's write that in the transliteration. In the transliteration there is no dot, and therefore it is the halant. Okay, so avam uktavan. Next, Yuvabhyam saha yuvayoho pitarau gamishyataha kim. And the answer, am with us, with the two of us will be avabhyam. Uttamam. How can you help yourself remember? So we have yuvabhyam, and then we know that for us it is avabhyam. Avabhyam. Again we have a question, will it be a dot or will it be a mahalant? Because there is a s or a consonant that follows, it will necessarily have to be a dot on top. So avabhyam, and let's do that also with the transliteration. Avabhyam. M and a dot on top. Avabhyam saha, our parents. So we've already looked at our, the two of us, and it is the avayoho. In case of a doubt, you look at the yuvayoho above, and you know that the u has to be replaced with a, and that's how you get it for the first person. So it will be avayoho. Avayoho. Avayoho pitarau api Sanskrita Shibiram Gamishyatah. Next, Sanskrita Bharati Sanskrita Shibiraya Yuvabhyam. From the two of you, Kati Rupyakani Grihitavati. Answer, Sa Sanstha. You have the clue just on top. Will be Avabhyam. And how do you know whether there will be a dot or an ms letter? You have to look at it. So it's a consonant and therefore it will be a dot on top there. So avabhyam kevalam saptashatarupyakani grihitavati. So let's put that also here as in the transliteration. Avabhyam. Uttamam. Moving on. Shibira kale te yuvabhyam. To the two of you. Or vam sarvam dasyanti kim. Will they give you everything? Answer, am. Te, to the two of us, will be avabhyam. Because yuvabhyam, so avabhyam. And with a ver that follows, so there will be a dot. Okay, avabhyam or now. Avabhyam or now. Vasam bhojanam tatha prayojaniyam sarvam dasyanti. Uttavam. Next one, yuvayoho kim, or yuvayoho here is in the two of you. So yuvayoho kim sanskritanuragaha asti. And the answer, avashyam. Avayoho. Avayoho bahu sanskritanuragaha asti. So here avayoho, which is the seventh, avayoho bahu sanskritanuragaha asti. Now I'll just quickly go back and we'll just put the numbers on each of them so we know. So the first avam goes with the verb and therefore it is the first case. Then avayoho was the sixth case. Then we had avam uktavan, told us, so that is the second case or the accusative. And then you have avabhyam saha, which is the instrumental, and it is the third case. Then avayoho pitarau, our parents, so it is the sixth again. And then it is avabhyam grihitavati, took from us, and therefore the ablative, or the fifth case. And here finally avabhyam vasam bhojanam dasyanti, so they will give to us, therefore the dative or the fourth case. And we have the last one, avayoho sanskritanuragaha asti. Uttamam. So I hope you've been able to practice that. Also use these lessons to practice your writing, because that really will complement your learning of spoken Sanskrit. Now let's move on to the lesson of the day, and that is about doing some practice with the second person in the dual forms. So we've already looked at it through the conversation, but let's do some more practice with it. So let's look at what happens to the dual, to the second person pronoun in the dual form. So the first and second cases, as we have seen in the first person, are the same. So here also we have twam or twam, and the form that they acquire is yuvam, and you can really correlate it to the English you. So yuvam, the two of you. So yuvam, and let's see what happens here. So twam शुक्रवारः शुक्रवारे काव्यं पठसि. युवां शुक्रवारे काव्यं पठतः. So it becomes पठतः, युवां. And finally, यूयं शुक्रवारे काव्यं पठतः. Uttamam. Now let's look at the other one. Let's look at the next kind of action there that happens. Tvam shanivarah will become Shanivare. Sangeetam likhasi. Uttamam. Yuvam Shanivare Sangeetam likhatha. Finally, Yuyam Shanivare Sangeetam likhatha. Uttamam. And the final one, Tvam Ravivarah or Ravivare. And you also have another word for it, which is Bhanuvare Samacharapatram Shrutavan. You heard the newspaper. Okay, that's a bit strange, but you can hear somebody reading out the newspaper to you. So, Samacharapatram Shrutavan. And then you have Yuvam Ravivare Samacharapatram Shruta, the two of you. So, remember what happens in the dual for the past tense? Shrutavantau or Shrutavatyau. Uttamam. And for the plural, Yuyam Ravivare Samacharapatram Shrutavantah or Vatyah. Uttamam. Now, complicating the matter a little more, I am saying here, Tvam Shukravare Kavyam Pathasi and Tvam Itopi Pathayami. So, who's Pathayami? The moment I say Pathayami, then who's the subject? The subject. So this indicates that the subject is aham. Okay, so you can say Tvam itopi aham pathayami or aham tvam itopi pathayami. It can go anywhere. It can either come in there, or it can come in at that point, or it can come into that point, or it can even come at the end. So this can even come at the end here. So you can really place the word anywhere, and the beauty is that you don't even need to place it, because the moment you say yami, it already means I am teaching. Okay, so here we have Tvam Shukravare Kavyam Pathasi, Tvam Itopi Pathayami. I will teach you some more. So Yuvam Shukravare Kavyam Pathatha, and I will teach the two of you will be Yuvam or Vam Itopi Pathayami. And finally, Yuyam Shukravare Kavyam Pathatha, and then Yushman or Vaha Itopi Pathayami. And then we also have the Vaha. So you have the subject option of Avam and of Vayam. So Avam or Vayam. Both of them can be added here. So you can say Tvam itopi pathayami or Tvam itopi pathayavaha. Now if you want to do the entire thing as a dual, let's see. So this is your exercise. The persons who are first doing that action are the dual, and the people who are teaching, the two of them, are also in the dual. How would you do that? Try it once and then I'll follow up with it. So here goes. Yuvam Shukravare Kavyam Pathatha, Avam Yuvam Itopi Pathayavaha. That's as dual as this sentence could get. Alright, so you can practice some more with all these permutations and combinations. I have left the dot dot here because likhami in the causative becomes Lekhayami, as you had seen. Okay, Lekhayami. And for the Shrutavan will be Shravitavan, or and then the combinations of that. So Shravitavan and the combinations. And if you wanted to keep it as the present tense, then Shravayami, and the possibilities with that. Okay, so Shravayami, there it goes. Okay, so you have that. So let's move on. In the third, fourth cases, we have seen for the first person that it is the identical form, and it was avabhyam, and you can guess rightly that in the third, fourth and fifth cases here in the dual, it will get the form yuvabhyam, uttamam. And so here we have saha tvaya. What we had done before is saha upavishati, sits with you, but because we've done sufficient practice around that, what I propose to do is to use this time the word vina, which means without. So saha tvaya vina upavishati, sits without you. Saha yuvabhyam vina upavishati, and saha yushmabhihi vina upavishati, sits without all of you. Let's move on. You can even do it with the plural here. So te tvaya vina upavishanti, and you can go back down. Te yuvabhyam vina upavishanti, and te yushmabhihi vina upavishanti. Uttamam. Let's go down to the first person here. So aham tvaya vina upavishami. Avam, the two of us. No, let's do it first with the aham. So aham yuvabhyam vina upavishami, and aham yushmabhihi vina upavishami. So I sit without the two of you and without many of you. Let's do it with the dual. So the two of us are acting here. So avam tvaya vina upavishavaha. So you have to make sure that you've got the vaha here. Okay, so avam tvaya vina upavishavaha, avam yuvabhyam vina upavishavaha, and avam yushmabhihi vina upavishavaha. Now let's move on to the vayam. So vayam tvaya vina upavishamaha, vayam yuvabhyam vina upavishamaha, and vayam yushmabhihi vina upavishamaha. Uttamam. So now we've had a look at all the different possibilities with the different subjects in the singular, dual and plural wherever they've come, along with the corresponding verbs, and also we have looked at the instrumental here in the singular, dual and the plural. So what I will do now is, because you've already looked at these forms, I'll just take you through the verbs, because it's good to be familiar with that as well. So in the future it becomes na upaveksha. So upavekshati, if you want to negate it, then na upavekshati. So upavekshati, then in the plural upavekshanti, upavekshyami, upavekshyavaha, and upavekshyamaha, with the subject list that we have here. Moving on, in the past tense, so tvaya vina, you don't actually even need to say that. Even if you don't say that, you can still make sense of the sentence. So tvaya vina asande upavishtavan. So he sat, saha upavishtavan. It could even be tvam, tvam. It cannot be tvam because tvaya saha, you can't sit with yourself. So in terms of possibilities, logically the tvaya is ruled, or tvam is ruled out. But you can have aham tvaya vina upavishtavan. I sat without you. So because this is the simplified past, you can get all different subjects with the same kind of verb ending here. Okay, and then of course you have the vati for the singular, vantav or vatyav for the dual case, and upavishtavantaha or upavishtavatyaha for the feminine plural case. And then we had the word pratyagatavan, means went and came back, and you have the similar endings on that. And finally tirthayatrartham, you can even slash that by 2 and if you want to increase your combinations here, you can say tirtham, tirthayatrartham, or just yatrartham, just any journey. So tirthayatrartham was the pilgrimage. Okay, astu. So now tirthayatrartham gachati or na gachati, and then it takes all the other permutations and combinations of the verb upavishati in the present tense. So having said this, let's do a summary of what we've done. So we see that in the dual case it becomes yuvam, yuvam and yuvabhyam. And you can guess, I've left the color scheme so we can anticipate what will come. Can you anticipate? So it will be yuvam, yuvam, yuvabhyam, yuvabhyam, yuvabhyam. So we see that it gets the same there. And in the sixth and seventh case it becomes, remember for avam it was avayoho, so here it will become yuvayoho, and we know that it all takes the same alternative there, so vam, and we also know that every alternative one has this alternative, so even in the fourth case it will take that vam. Okay, and we have the same one for the seventh case. Uttamam. So let's look at an application of what we have studied thus far, and we look at this subhashitam, which is, I'll tell you the subhashitam, I'll ask you to identify what we've done and then tell you the meaning, and then I'll request you to chant after me. Okay, so let's start. Ajnanat jnanato vapi yad duruktam udahritam tat kshantavyam yuvabhyam me kritva priti param manaha. So here we have ajnanat jnanato. So ajnanat actually is there is a kind of a sandhi of consonants here. So this becomes ajnanat plus jnanato. Okay, jnanato. And then you have a to at the end. So very typically when a word ends with a to, it implies that there is a sandhi that is taking place, and it is a sandhi of the visarga. So actually the to would be a taha. Okay, so this is ajnanat jnanataha, which becomes the to. Okay, vapi. So vapi also has a sandhi. So it's va plus api. Vapi yad duruktam udahritam. So yat, as you can see, is another kind of a sandhi there. So it's actually yat duruktam udahritam. So you have three words there. So yat duruktam. Uktam means that which has been said, and duruktam, duh, is a prefix that indicates the negative or bad things or ill things. So just like you have sukha and dukkha, so sujana and durjana. So the same dur is here to indicate that whatever ill might have been said, and udahritam is shown as an example, but the dur will go according with the udahritam as well. Tat kshantavyam. So when you say kshantavyam, it is like I must be forgiven. This tavyam has the sense of should be or must be, and it is done I should be forgiven or I must be forgiven by. So it takes on the instrumental, and that is what we have here. So what is it that we have learned this far? We've learned the yuvabhyam, by the two of you. So it could be a verse that is being said to the parents or to two people to be forgiven by them. May, I should be forgiven. Kritva, by doing. Priti param manaha. How can you forgive me? So you should have a mind, a manaha. What kind of mind? Priti param means a mind full of affection. So the meaning is, whatever ill I may have spoken or given as an example, knowingly or unknowingly, that by you too I must be forgiven as a result of your affectionate thoughts towards me. So let's chant that and see, let's just chant that. I invite you to repeat after me. Ajnanat jnanato vapi yad duruktam udahritam tat क्षन्तव्यं युवाभ्यां मे कृत्वा प्रीतिपरं मनः. Uttamam. Just a note there when I say ajnanat, jnanato. So you sometimes hear the jnya pronounced as a gya, but like I typically say that the jnya is a combination of j plus nya. So you have to quickly go over the j and do the nya. So jnya, jnya. Okay. So ajnana, jnanato vapi. Alright. So let's look at the final quotation by the former and very revered Shankaracharya of Kanchi, Jagadguru Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, and this is what he has to say of Sanskrit. He says, Sanskrit is the life of all languages. Sanskrit belongs to everyone. It hasn't got its own territory. It does not belong to any country. Languages such as Tamil, Telugu, Hindi belong to some regions. Sanskrit has not got any such geographical affiliation. So when I travel and I teach Sanskrit to various yoga circles across the world, this is one thing that I try and highlight. I try to highlight about the language, that if one associates oneself with this with Sanskrit, the universal nature of this language evokes a certain universality within the nature of one who studies it deeply and is touched by its spirit. So for these few words, Shivamastu. So when we talk of Shivamastu here, it literally means may auspiciousness be yours. Shiva meaning auspicious, and therefore may auspiciousness be yours. And so when we refer to that being as Shiva, what we are actually doing is that we recognize that the portfolio of that cosmic being is to bring auspiciousness, and therefore that being is, one of the names of that being is Shiva. So Dhanyavada, we've been looking at some forms of the second person in the dual case thus far. So we'll look at the rest of it in the next lesson. Until then, keep practicing.